Can you hear me now? How about now? So good morning, local friends. I know that some of you are listening from home today. Just letting you know that on our schedule for Saturday, April 2nd at 5:30 is Sangha and Scrabble night and snacks. So if you have any questions, you can see me each Sunday or send me out an email or leave a note in my box. But we will be doing game night April 2nd, weather pending. We can go outside. Feel free to bring a snack to share. See you at 5:30. Thank you.
Hello, Sangha. It's good to be here today. I'm making an announcement for Venerable Panyawati and Panyadeepa. As many of you know, that he's entered into hospice as of this last week. And Panyawati would like to offer the opportunity for those who are interested to come and pay a visit to Panyadeepa. It would need to be short. He doesn't have a lot of energy, but it would be great for him to be able to have some time with those of you that wish to be with him. So if you are thinking about or wanting to do that, I encourage you to make a phone call to the Hermitage number. It's 828-338-2665. That's 828-338-2665. And if no one answers, they'll get back to you. Just let them know that you're interested in coming over. Again, I want to emphasize that it's going to need to be a short visit. And just to be in his presence and to sit quietly would be a wonderful thing for him. And I'm certain for you too. So again, please give a call to the Hermitage and we'll keep moving forward. Thank you so much.
We'll work through this guy. Well, if I keep it right here, does that pick me up or do I need to? Is this better? That's good? Oh yeah, I think I hear it a little better now. Okay. All right, so good morning, everybody. Yes. Good morning. My name's Abaya. I'm kind of sort of filling in, but yeah, just also glad to be home today. Gonna speak a little bit about preliminaries today. And so really before I my we may have preliminaries might be getting our sound set up. This guy off. Let's see how that is. We're getting some feedback there. Thank you. Yeah. All right. See, gotta check that out first. Good. Yeah. So my personal preliminaries, I always like to start offering just to get my mindset and oriented the right direction, offering homage and refuge to start out with. So we ready? Okay, good. Yeah. So let's offer this chant. We'll offer this chant for the homage and refuge. And if you know it, you can chant along if you like. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And taking refuge. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Yeah, so today I want to share and maybe discuss a little bit about the power that comes from prioritizing the preliminaries. And yeah, so we just did a little preliminary there with this chant, which when I first started attending Dharma talks or retreats, it was always okay, they're going to do the little chant, and then we're going to start doing the real stuff. So I was just kind of skipping over that, and it took me a while to kind of check into, I don't know, why are we doing this and what's going on there, and so let me learn a little bit about it and explore it, and then come to find out this little, what I saw as preliminary, turned out to be really a powerful central part of my practice, and just finding out that that this is kind of a habit that we, not only in Dharma practice, but pretty much, in lots of areas in our lives, we like to skip over the, yes, okay, we have to do these little preliminaries, but now I'm going to get to the good stuff. But I kind of have to pretend I'm doing this, and sometimes it's, I'm going to do my chant, and then I'm going to do my mindfulness practice. And the whole time I was doing my preliminary chant, I could have been mindful about this. And so, why wait to get started when I can be engaging from the start? So just kind of review for me what even this very traditional chanting the homage and the three refuges, just kind of reviewing on that, and then we'll kind of see how that plays into using preliminaries to gain access to more powerful practice. The initial chant we do, the homage to the Buddha, kind of has some different sections on that, and so you can just kind of take the attitude of yes, I appreciate the Buddha, and there's value even in that for sure, of just kind of even quickly just bring to mind Buddha for you. For some people, they don't really connect terribly with the personality of Buddha. So in this homage chant is built in kind of access areas for, entry points or Dharma doors for anybody, depending on how you come to the Dharma. Some people do connect very closely with that personality, but if not built into this chant, it talks about the person, but it talks about also the qualities of the personhood, the Buddha. So the Namo Tassa is homage to the one who is Bhagavato, is several translations. Blessed is kind of the one that resonates with me, the blessed one. And so blessed is nice, but why is he the blessed one? What are the blessings that flow through him, and what is the blessedness that's shared? And usually what's brought out there is the idea of compassion, as at the outset. So you can be just a couple words into your preliminaries, and you're already accessing the idea of compassion here. And so as we kind of go through these, looking at how, kind of remembering how sometimes we can just go through the steps automatically, or can we try to make an actual connection in it? Sometimes I want to spend more time, I may go very slowly through this and check in with, I stop at Bhagavato and kind of really reflect on compassion, and where is that for me today in my life, and how do I see it enacted out there. So even you can just be a few words in and you're already reflecting And this is just like our instructions for mindfulness practice to reflect internally and externally, both internally and externally. So I'm, calling to mind the Buddha, maybe what I've read about in suttas or what I've heard in Dharma talks, of compassionate action there and the way compassion has been shared and shown forth. So I can see, I'm kind of reflecting on that externally. And then, and what about for me, how do I resonate with that and how does it show up for me? And then, where these two things kind of match up, where do I feel like I'm moving in sync with that, where those things flow together. And then, so I'm already doing this internal, external, both internal and external reflection, just a few words into this. And the next aspect, arahato, usually translated as noble, the noble one. And what it's usually focused on there is noble because of the purification, the fact that there is purification of the actions of body, speech, and mind were fully realized there. And so reflecting on that externally, maybe what I've heard about, how I imagine that to be, or where I've seen that in people around me as well, or reflecting there on this idea of purification, and then so I can reflect back in as well. So where am I on that? Where do I feel like, oh yes, I'm doing pretty good with that, or I made progress, and where do I feel a little rub like? When I bring to mind the idea of purification, this is kind of a spot that kind of rubs for me. I'm like, I'm really not in sync right there. And it doesn't, you can take time, go slowly through this, and you're still kind of in the preliminaries, but what can be deeper than that to check in with this thing. And then the last part of aspect brought out in homage to the Buddha, the Sambuddha Sas, the rightly self-awakened one, or consummately self-awakened. And this is bringing out the idea of wisdom, wisdom that's not only just understanding, but experiential knowledge, that someone who has actually walked the path, which makes the Buddha the most excellent teacher. Guides and resources are excellent. Maybe somebody who can point you to a book or can help you find some information. That's wonderful. It certainly has its use. Somebody can give you a map, and that is like, oh, how, that is wonderful. To give me a map is excellent. But then if I'm, maybe actually going on a true jungle excursion, if I'm going with a local who knows these woods inside and out, knows every little path, and here's a shortcut, and don't go over here. It's kind of, this is a messy spot. You don't want to get stuck there. So associating with someone who has that experiential knowledge of having actually walked this path and knows the territory personally, intimately. So bringing that idea out and realizing the value of that. So these things, so already just in this very, very beginning, what is usually, I know for a lot of us, is like, okay, yes, I like the Buddha. That's great. Good idea. Next thing. But you can, if you stop and make this preliminary part of the practice deep, you access a lot, because not only does it bring these ideas to mind and brings up this feeling of appreciation for that, so that when I see that, joy arises in me, and that makes me automatically, my energy wants to flow in that direction. These things that I've brought to mind repeatedly to appreciate that. So when I see that, that makes me gravitate towards people who are flowing this same vein, and also helps my actions to gravitate in that direction, because yes, I've reflected on this, often. So that's also the power of the repetition of these preliminaries. Once or twice you kind of find out about it, but 1,000, 2,000 times, if it's done with some actual connection and not just let me say these words and get to the real part, it really becomes a practice in itself. So just looking at this and seeing how just this first little part can be taken quite deeply. And then I guess we'll check in with the Refuge Chant. Yes, I've signed up Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. That's my refuge. That's where I go for a place of shelter, or when I don't know which way to turn. Obviously, this is, I look to these things for direction, and a real quick little check-in or just acknowledging that certainly has its value. But the amount of time and attention that we spend with that really brings out the power of this preliminary practice of taking refuge, which can go quite deep as well. So for me, it was quite a while for me to kind of even to get on board with that. First of all, the chanting whole idea kind of put me off just because of some, past things in my life that was like, I don't want to, these things just kind of give me a funny feeling. But once I checked in with the meaning and made some actual investigation, of what's going on here, then it really felt smooth for me. And checking with the actual meaning behind these, and of course, there's different approaches to this, but I kind of we do it 3 times traditionally, so I kind of take three different angles each time I go through these lines. The first time I take refuge, for me, I kind of check in a very, very traditional way of taking refuge in the personhood of Buddha, a historical person who's forged the way and put forth a lot of effort and had a lot of compassion and generated wisdom. So remembering that personhood, and of course, doing this right after we just took homage, it brings to mind these ideas of also the aspects of this person that are to be that I'll lead to for refuge. So for some people, it is off-putting it feels maybe have some off-putting feelings about the idea of sort of worship or whatever. And some people some people get a lot of that really helps them generate faith to step forward and quite an actual worshipful approach to this. And so if that works for you, great, then use that and work with it. But if not, then these ideas that we just talked about on the, homage to the Buddha, his ideas of compassion, purification, and wisdom. Surely I can say, oh yes, I go to refuge to this approach to life that this person has taken, and they're a great example of that. So there's different ways you can access it, and you have to work that for yourself to bring that out. So even the preliminaries, we're working through things and making connection and generating faith and energy as we do this. And then so as a first taking a very the traditional approach my first time through this chant on refuge, of course taking refuge in Dharma. To me, it is yes, the Buddha Dhamma, the suttas that I've read, the actual the things that have been transmitted through the years and preserved, and that have obviously been of value to others who along the way, or they would have cast this aside in the last few thousand years. So taking refuge in this great volume of wisdom that's been passed down to tradition, and then taking refuge in Sangha. Really, when you're reading the suttas and whatever, and someone comes to the Buddha or one of his disciples, yes, I'm signing up for this crew. Yes, I'm gonna come to you for refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha and commit my life. pretty much it's understood that, at that time, or the way they're taking this in the Buddha, in his teachings. And I'm kind of surprised a lot of people don't realize that when it says, talks about Sangha here, I do like to bring it out because it's very useful, but very, very widely, the idea of Sangha has certainly been expanded and brought into a lot of different areas. And it can mean simply me and my meditation buddies, and which is awesome and great. And that certainly is Sangha. But to just also kind of honor the roots and tradition and history. That traditionally, when talking about taking refuge in Sangha, I do like to bring to mind this idea of the Arya Sangha, the noble ones who have achieved some level of awakening, and realizing that, these people have walked the path. Whatever's the person who is closest to or has achieved awakening, the closest that's who I definitely want to associate with, either physically, if I can be around them and spend time, or, just my consciousness wants to flow towards that type of person. So I have found it very inspiring to make that connection with, especially with my lineage, which goes back, through the awakened ones. So yeah, if you want to go to Refuge to Sangha, those who have actually achieved some level of awakening are always expounded as being the safest type of person you can ever associate with, because they have taken the idea of non-harming to a degree that most people really don't even understand. So to me, that's really lovely to check in on that really, traditional level. And so yeah, I take that my first time through this, and this is just the first, what does it take, 20 seconds to do this first chant? And I've already checked in with so many things. And so the second time of taking refuge, the Dutiyampi, for the second time, I take refuge. I kind of expand this out from the specificity and kind of open it up to the principles that each of these things carry or stand for or bring, bring to me. So I'm taking it from, specific to really wide open expansiveness here. And so the second time for me personally, and anybody can certainly, you make up your own practice as you go. You can kind of follow the guidelines that are set out there, and you do that a while, and then you kind of learn to tweak the recipe, so to say. We get recipes from our grandparents or whatever, and then I like a little bit more of this spice. So as you go along, you kind of fix it how you like it. And even this preliminary of checking with taking refuge. So for me, the second time through, when I opened up the idea of Buddha, just that I want to orient myself towards awakening, which is, ultimately what Buddha represents, is this, coming out of this idea of I'm sleepwalking, I'm just in this dream world and, delusion, and making up my own story as I go along. This idea of I want to wake up to the reality of how things are and how I relate to them. So just orienting in the direction of awakening as I come through the second time. So this really just opens up the vista for me of wherever awakening can be found, encountered in the world, opportunity for a little awakening over here, a big awakening over here, just opening myself up to the idea of awakening, and realizing that is a refuge for me. That's the safe place in the storm, to be oriented in that direction rather than oriented towards going back to sleep. And so then the idea of taking refuge in Dharma for a wide open, for me, the idea of Dharma can be Buddha Dharma. And then there's really the Dharma, which was always there, which the Buddha just was able to understand, which means the way that things are. So to me, just orienting towards the deepest truth about how things are, orienting towards myself towards the deepest truth of how I'm relating with them, just holding that in really, really high regard and just valuing that. So in this preliminary, I'm really opening myself up to some pretty high standards that are inspirational, and having myself oriented in this direction is just so nourishing to me already to be opening up to that. And then orienting towards taking refuge in Sangha for my second time through to open it up does quite a bit open up to this, I guess, more modern idea of, yes, healthy community, realizing that I need to engage with healthy community because what I spend time with certainly influences me. So realizing that is a refuge for me to spend time in healthy community with those who are healthy, who are at different levels, or certainly the spectrum of healthiness. There are those who are essentially pretty unhealthy, but are at least seeking to, like, yes, I'm seeking help and pointing in that direction. But there's value in all these associations. And there's certainly value associated with those who have walked that path and have been able to help themselves to develop a really healthy lifestyle. And just being in that atmosphere is a refuge for me. So recalling that at the start of my practice reminds me of that value. So from the specificity to opening up wide, taking refuge. And then so for the third time, as we go through the Tatyampi, taking refuge, I really want to turn in and talk about right here, right now. And taking refuge in Buddha for the third time for me is taking refuge in awakening happening right here in this fathom-long body, right here in my actions of my body, my speech, my mind, acknowledging times that I have, and recalling, bringing to mind times that I've made steps in that direction, remembering how great that felt. So that's a refuge for me to keep the ball rolling, the momentum on that, moving towards awakening. And all those things that come with it, the compassion that we talked about earlier, and the wisdom, the purification. So, but really turn that into, yes, those are, historical things I can remember that are inspiring to me. There's this potentiality that's wide open around me. I can remember that that's always there and accessible, and that's nice. But if some of that doesn't happen right here and now, it's really not doing anything. So this preliminary practice is already really making me check in very deeply here. And then checking in with taking refuge in Dhamma for the third time. As I mentioned, for the wide open, it's talking about the deepest truth that's available, that can be accessed. So for me to make that very personal, the only way I can access truth is for me to take an attitude of, I really have to be honest. Because nobody can fool me as good as I can fool me and talk myself into things. So I take refuge in my dedication to honesty. So that helps me to access the truth of Dhamma. The Dhamma always is right here in front of us and around us. The truth is hideous in our face all the time, but I'm usually running it through my filter first. So I don't really get it, get to absorb it because I've got to filter it first or rearrange it how I want to. So my dedication to honesty is that thing that helps me to access the truth that's right here in front of me. And then the last time kind of going through the refuge in Sangha at the end is, so Sangha, sometimes we get this idea, Sangha is these people that I sit with. And so I've got this, whatever, dozen people here. But sometimes as we focus on that, I forget that, yes, I'm here with all these people influencing me. And also I'm here influencing all these other people. So taking refuge in making sure that I am a good Kalyanamita functioning within this Sangha, taking refuge in my dedication to. I appreciate the good influence you guys give me. And likewise, I want to reflect that back to you every chance I get. So taking refuge in my dedication to that really helps steer me and keep me going in this direction. So as you can see this, I don't know how many hundreds of times I've just have run through this, and I still do. And sometimes it's that thing of, yes, I've done it 100 times. So yeah, I know that, on to the next thing. Or I don't know what that is. So we're just kind of skim over it. It's to take a little bit of time with these so-called preliminaries and to make them deep that brings out the power that they have. And it's that as I start to check in with that, it doesn't always have to be, I have to really dive in deeply to each thing that I touch on as I go through, because maybe that's just not how you're feeling today, but at least find some spot in there. Maybe there's one little part today that jumps out to you in the homage or whatever your preliminary is for you. Find something in there that I want to just check in at least one layer deeper than where I'm just naturally flowing today. Let me just stop and check in a little bit deeper with my preliminary. Whatever your thing is for you to light your incense. It can be, I light that. Okay, that gets going. Then I sit. Okay, well, what meaning can I put with this, or association that helps reinforce something for me? Or what are your preliminaries in meeting a new person? When I first meet somebody, hi, my name is Jake. Your name is okay. Now let's get on to whatever we want to chat about. Okay, well, can I also, as I'm meeting you, can I just stop for a second and check in deeply with my preliminaries here? And let me just see, what else are you conveying to me with your body language, the way you're carrying yourself? Maybe this person really isn't up for a discussion today. I just need to introduce myself and go on. Or maybe if I stop with my preliminaries as I meet someone, I can see, oh, this person is really craving a little bit more of like some real contact, and they need some feedback from somebody. So I need to show up for this person deeply right now. So we can breeze through these preliminaries and miss a lot of opportunities for depth by not stopping to check in with that. And of course, this also by not making these be just so automatic and go through, it really reinforces our continuity of mindfulness. It's just another aspect of mindfulness to check in as we're doing these. It's to keep us from getting out of the autopilot. I do like to develop habits, which is, good habits, which, yes, I always do this next thing. Oh, yes, it's great. I have the habit of chanting these things before I do my sitting practice. But the trick is to not let the habit just become this automaton, where I have to actually show up. So the habit of presence during these preliminaries is what brings them to life in myself. So you can see how these things can be opened up to look at externally. Whatever your preliminary is, you can kind of open that up to an external focus. You can turn it more internally if that's what you're feeling today. You kind of feel the way it reflects in both of these things. And it's great to make it into not work, but make it into play. A play of finding what do I really feel like doing today? What really shows up for me? This is resonating, and I can really get some energy going. Perhaps just enjoying the idea of my community. The idea of Sangha is really resonating. So let me really dwell on that a lot. A little bit extra today. So I can do this idea of play of what works for me, and then also feeling like, okay, so now I felt what I really like. And I usually like to kind of take both ends of the spectrum is where I mostly do my work. The thing I really like, I do that. And the thing I really don't want to do, I make myself do that too, because that's probably where my work is today. So all right, I'm going to spend some time with whatever I'm maybe feeling numb about, or like something that I want to kind of keep at a distance. So yeah, as I notice I'm going through my preliminaries, just like sometimes I'm reading a page of a book. I get to the end, I'm like, what did I read? Oh, I got to start over. Wait, like the 14th time, I'm like, okay, I'm not focusing. So I can sometimes I get to the end of my preliminaries and maybe I'm ready to start my sit and I'm like, I'm just still not feeling settled. Oh, you know why? Because I don't even remember anything about this little chant I did. I just okay, I'll sit. It didn't really get me oriented in that direction. And these preliminaries once get you oriented at, and also kind of become a cue for me that when I go through these preliminaries, oh, this means it's time for checking in a little bit deeper. I mean, you see this in our Dharma practice. It's the same thing, the same template or pattern applies to, so many areas of life. Olympics have been going on. I just saw an article. They were talking, they had a whole article about each swimmer, when they get on their little stand before they're going to race in the pool, that each one has this little ritual they go through before that, before they eat, it's time to go. Some of them have to adjust their little swim cap just so and pull it like this. Some of them have to, they had to analyze it into who shakes their arms like this, who shakes their arms like that. Like they got to go through this whole ritual. And you're an Olympic swimmer. You've probably been on the swim team since you were 5 years old. How many times, why do you have to warm up again? I'm like, you got this down pat. Well, that's also why they're Olympic swimmers, not just swimmers, because they realize, oh yes, there is an importance of, yes, I do this little ritual and that clicks my mind into this is what I'm doing right now. So that's the power of, does it really make them swim faster to adjust their little cap a little bit a certain way they got to do 3 times on this side, 2 times on this side? No, but when I do that, it's reminding me, the last time I did this, I was getting ready to swim, and the time before that, and the time before that. So these preliminaries in my practice or whatever in my daily life, if I make the conscious, mindful effort to associate that, it really burns that in my memory. That's part of the sort of definition of mindfulness is to bear in mind or bring to mind. So these preliminaries help bring these things to mind that I want to bring to mind. So there's also the flip side, the power of preliminaries. I also have preliminaries, little rituals or things that I go through when I'm wanting to engage in things that are not so healthy. There are things that help, that I have, learned over the years. This helps me get into a mode to go off track when I really feel the draw to do that, or that maybe things I've associated with some unhealthy things. So many of my friends like, do you smoke? No, I don't smoke. Well, I do smoke when I'm drinking. Like, just because I disassociated it from when I was a teenager, that's what we do. Like, I don't ever buy cigarettes, but like if I'm out drinking with my friends, for some reason, I just had to have a smoke. So that just triggers that memory of, oh yeah, these things go together. And of course that, some of these things are preliminaries that are kind of run into little aggravations to the spectrum of, things that wreck our lives. So realizing the power of these preliminaries not only helps me get the ball rolling, the momentum in the healthy direction. Also, if I'm really checking in all the time with my preliminaries, when I catch myself engaging in the preliminary that, oh yeah, when I'm doing this, I have seen the pattern before of this then leads to this or helps support this unhealthy thing that happens in my life. I can catch it a lot quicker because I pay attention to my preliminaries. I don't just run through it automatically. And I can catch it. Oh yeah, this is going to take me in a direction I really don't want to go today. So yeah, checking with them deeply has such an effect on the way things flow. And sometimes I want to think that I really know everything really well. Everybody gets this feeling of, yeah, I've done it a million times. I don't really need to. But sometimes there's a reason that these things are included in the directions. I love to cook. I always say I can't bake. I really need to correct it and say that I don't bake well, because those are it says to preheat the oven before you make your cupcakes. I'm like, well, it'll get hot. I'll just put it in. Well, there's a reason that the bakers say to preheat the oven. This is a preliminary. It rises better. It does better if you follow this, like the walking by, turn that dial while you're mixing your stuff up. It makes such a difference in the way your cake comes out. So there's a reason these directions are there. In my working in the hospital, there's just this automatic, if you're going in and out every time between patients, you always wash your hands. In the emergency room, sometimes people come in and you really don't have time. Like sometimes you have to really move quickly. And sometimes we have to do invasive things. People have to start IVs, put needles in people. Doctors have to use scalpels and cut on people. Really, we've only got a couple seconds to work here. And if I've already washed my hands after I saw my last patient, they're clean. So I'm ready to go. But if I didn't wash my hands on the way out of that last one, either that's added time and so I've got to stop and do this before I can take care of this patient. Or if I just jump in and do it, in my attempts to help this person, I'm spreading germs to them. And yeah, you don't know it today, but 3 days later, they've got an infection where I started their IV or whatever. So just making the habit of these preliminaries that we do between things has a protective quality. So the protective power that they have of building these things in and making sure that I always do them. We were doing a short series with them on mindfulness of breathing, and so we're kind of like, well, okay, because different people come at it from different angles, and what's your idea of mindfulness of breathing, and how do you start? Most people always, it's like, well, you start out watching, pretty generally. Some people have an approach. I think Chogyam Trungpa is just more to focus on the out breath. It's they're like, well, you just let the in breath happen, but really check in with the out breath. And some people notice the in breath, notice the out breath. That's the beginning stage. So if you actually open up the sutta before you notice in breath, before you notice out breath, the preliminary stage is actually, before you do that, you're supposed to, number one, find a suitable environment. In order to practice in the best way possible. The first instruction is actually find a suitable environment. Classically, find a root of a tree, empty building or whatever, and also establish a suitable posture. I can go ahead and yes, anytime I can be in the middle of doing something. Yes, it is great to stop and notice in breath, out breath. I just made a little check-in with that. That is good. But maybe if I'm really wanting to take a really close formal look at my mindfulness of breathing, I should take a little bit of time to set up my environment, make sure it supports me. I have a supportive environment, so this preliminary supports my practice. Make sure my posture is okay. Oh, do I need one extra cushion today because I did yard work yesterday and my back hurts? This will let me sit comfortably so I can relax into my practice. So this idea of, we want to skip past the preliminaries and let me just get to the real main part. Well, the preliminaries are there often for a reason. It's very, very useful. So this is all talking about kind of preliminaries of practice and the power they have. But I like to also, expand that out while we still have a little bit of time left I like to always have things in the perspective, and these preliminaries can be a deep practice in themselves. Obviously, the deeper you check in with them, the deeper they can be. But also they're a part of a support of this wider practice. Like, for instance, our little, going over the way we check in with the preliminary of our chant of the homage and refuge today. So that's kind of the specificity, checking in with, what is this right here? But also, and kind of setting up my environment, my orientation. But then I also like to, and which way am I going to show up today? What am I going to be bearing in mind? But then I like to also open that up and, okay, that was great. And what am I doing this in the service of? What is this here to support? Really, when I was thinking about this, I have had some people really, and I've certainly had really big struggles with, I feel like I get conflicting advice about the importance of letting go is the whole idea. And then, maybe I'm a newer practitioner, or maybe I'm not such a new practitioner, but I've got these things that are really work good for me. And this advice of letting go is like, but I really want to hang on to this practice or this, these preliminaries really give me something to hang on to get the ball rolling and get started. So yes, these are in the service of letting go, but they involve a type of clinging, grasping. So, and it can be at first seem like really like a paradox, like they're butting heads. But as long as I take the step back and take a wider look, it keeps that from kind of turning in on itself in a harmful way rather than in a looking in deeper way. To realize, yes, I'm holding on to this to help me to let go of other things later. It has a usefulness of that, of letting go of things, this generating a faith of something to hold on to until I can take that step of faith into the next realm, which is I have to let go of this realm in order to step into that. But sometimes I need a little something to grab onto. The visual I get of it is this kind of a ladder that goes up in, up almost, into space. And as you're climbing up, in order to climb this ladder and move up, you have to grab on in order to move up there. I can't just jump up into space. So I've got to climb this ladder. So in order to do that, I have to grab onto the rung. And then some effort happens. I pull myself up to that rung so that I can reach this rung that I couldn't reach earlier. And now I've got this rung and this rung. But if I want to get to the next one up there, I have to let go of this lower one in order to. So this was useful in order for me to get up there, realizing the usefulness of it. So the thing where our work is not just the work of the effort of climbing up. It's also, I'd like to get there, but sometimes like, oh, I don't want to let go of this down here. And that's kind of holding me down, which, I mean, in so many areas of our relationships, job, whatever, maybe there's something opening up that's better for me, but I'm just so attached to this other thing. I'm afraid to let go of it. So practicing these things in this little experiment box where it's kind of controlled environment of our meditation helps me learn the pattern, the template of letting go in a nice, safe way. I mean, learning to let go of the tension in my body as I breathe out a million times. I mean, whether I do or don't, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I mean, it's not the end of the world if as I'm doing this, but I'm practicing until I get better at it. And then, so just learning to let go of this tension in my body, I've learned that template, the pattern, and then I can shift that and apply that to, I've got tension, emotional tension. The same way I just practice this in my body, I can practice this in my emotions and feelings. Or I've got this idea I really want to hang on to. So I just take that same template and apply it to my ideas and so on and so forth. But it's built on these preliminaries that help us to learn how these things work and get used to it And then I take that same pattern and apply it. So the same thing I do in my preliminaries, I do in my main course of the meal of my work. I just do that just maybe in an expanded way or in maybe a more focused way. So these things can take us along this gradual path, but it starts with that, the way you start out on the path. It helps if I'm going for a 20-mile hike today. Let me make sure I put on my good shoes that aren't going to give me a blister before I start out. Let me just make sure I've got some water. It makes it so much easier. So the power of that, which sometimes it only takes an extra minute or 2 or 5 minutes, but that influences all the rest of this and the way that carries through. So yeah, I just want to kind of give us a chance to reflect on that. Don't skip over the starting part in order to get to the good part. Engage with that beginning with those preliminaries. Really engage with them, and that power will show up in the rest of your practice or the rest of your relationship, your partnerships, your work. All these different areas. So I think we've got a few minutes left. So maybe we can just sit quietly for a few minutes and kind of let this let it sink in for a few minutes, and then we'll open up for a little bit of time of discussion. So so just do your preliminary. If you find yourself we've already got a nice supportive environment, so just find a supportive posture that you can sit for about 5 minutes or so. Thank you for listening today. We have a few minutes left. I thought we might just take a minute for people to reflect and maybe check in on the two ends of the spectrum, maybe whether it's practice or just every day-to-day stuff, maybe something that comes to mind to you of a preliminary that you do that you really check in with, maybe get a lot of joy from the preliminary or that it's meaningful to you, or maybe the other end of the spectrum, kind of realizing, oh yeah, here's something where I just really always zone out and I'm missing an opportunity for some potential. Just kind of see what shows up for you. And for me, I was thinking about, I spent a lot of time in the kitchen. And so when it's time to make tea, my preliminary is like, I don't even know if I really like tea, but maybe I just like setting up for making tea, get my little space. Like, I like to hear the kettle starting to bubble and get all my stuff arranged. This is going to be good. And so that's a joy to me to clear my space and get it all, like my favorite cup and that my kid gave me. So that preliminary of tea is like, I'm certainly engaged from the beginning. And then the flip side in the kitchen for me, where I'm like, just get this done and over with and get it out of the way, is when I'm unloading groceries, is like, come in, throw the bags on the floor and just start cramming stuff in there, wherever it'll go, so I can shut the cabinet door and shut the refrigerator and I don't have to look at it anymore. And there's definitely, I just numb out for that. There's no, I've even thrown out the idea of preliminary for getting ready to put away groceries for me. So that certainly came to mind to me as I was reflecting on putting this together earlier. So yeah, see if anybody has anything that kind of shows up to them or is particularly meaningful or not. Mm-hmm.
Appreciated what you said about the association component of even someone doesn't buy cigarettes, they associate having a drink with a cigarette. And I was thinking about claiming and what we need to look at.
And surrender and let go of is just a hindrance. I took it into a broader perspective and then back to your cooking. It's the association of peanut butter and jelly. However, if you develop a peanut allergy, it behooves you to no longer make that association in order to make benefit with the rest of your life. Much like how that can just go into a much broader perspective of how we need to take our practice from conceptualization to real world. And I appreciated that. I appreciated what you said about baking versus cooking. There's those of us who cook and there's those of us who bake, and it's all about detail orientation and where you can kind of blur the lines and where you've got to follow the straight and narrow. And I appreciated what you had said about just holistically about laying the foundation and going to the last chapter of the book, because if you're the person who skips ahead to the last chapter, you have no idea what's going on and how, in a broader perspective, it's not about losing the characters or losing the meaning. The chapter of the book at the end doesn't set up the foundation or give you really any gratitude or ability to really understand what happened at the end or how you got there. So you've missed the whole meaning overall. So thank you. There were three really big kind of like concrete and then broader takeaways. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I have preliminary practices before meditation and things like that. Like you said, tendency is to sort of run through those, get to. You also reminded me that preliminary practices are useful no matter what you're doing in life. This is going to be really useful for me going forward. So thank you for this. I play tennis. We always warm up before we play tennis. And I'm realizing through your talk that the reason we do that is I need to shed the world. I mean, I came from somewhere. I was doing something. I've got something to do after. I've got to shed all of that and get to where I'm playing tennis now, in a way to sort of remind myself what it is to hit a forehand, what it is to hit a backhand, what I'm, there's always things, I'm an amateur, right? So there's always things we're working on. What am I trying to do when I hit a forehand? What am I trying? So the warm up, that's a preliminary practice before we play tennis, So I'm reminded of the importance of that. In meditation, one of the awarenesses I have is, it's coming clearer and clearer lately, is, the hindrances to meditation are attachments in the world. And that, I find that whenever I do some sort of a contemplation before I just quiet down to meditate, I always have a better meditation. It's because I've kind of set my mind, and the inclination of my mind is now much narrower than it would have been if I just sat down to brute force try to meditate. So I appreciate this talk today, because it's going to give me tools not only for meditation and some of the other things that we do in this practice, but also just generally speaking in life, a great reminder to use preliminary practice as a way to get our minds where we want them to be. Thank you.
We've been reading Becoming a Bodhisattva. We're only on chapter 3. And we spent a fair amount of time on preparing the ground. So here it is. You did such a great job of bringing us back to that place, and not just, and we talked about coming into the Bodhi hall and preparing ourselves to receive the Dharma, but to receive so many things that we were stepping into daily, moment to moment. So deep gratitude.
We circumambulated.
I wanted to thank you too. Sometimes you just get what you really need. And this morning when I woke up, I had to get to the gym, and that brute, waking up with my to-do list, always charging forward. And I was just reminded, just to practice taking a breath. And I thought, well, let me get my meditation in and check that off. And I went in the other room and I just started to journal. And what I do is I ask my allies, a holy being, a question, and I generally get wonderful messages. And as it turns out, today's message was all about preliminaries, and how throughout the day, if I'm going to access wisdom, I need to prepare myself to be more centered and more balanced because of this charging forward, if that makes sense. And there's a whole page, and at the end, it said this centering and balance, and this is the Lord, the centering prayer, Christ centering prayer I practice throughout the day. Lord Jesus Christ, Holy Son of God, have mercy on me. And so whenever I'm ready to dissociate or get numb, I repeat that, I get centered. And what it does, it sweetens my mind and it orients me to the great beings and their wisdom. And I'm more able to access the teachings throughout the day. So long-winded, but I wanted to thank you because I got what I needed today. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I guess I can say a few words. I get it. I get everything you said, and it's really helping me. I did sports a lot, basketball, football, everything, boxing. Just can't skip the preliminaries. You can't do it. It would break you down eventually. And so I get it. So I was preparing to come over here this morning. So I'm laying in bed. I say, well, now I got to get up and I got to iron. Now, before I can iron, I got to put water in the iron. Okay. So I just want to know, I thank you for that. I think everybody needed to hear that. Skipping the preliminaries is just not a good thing.
Couple minutes. Yeah, I think we'll just wrap up with a little metta at the end, and so we'll just ask everyone, of course, bear in mind Pani Diva and Pani Wadi, as she's supporting him as well. And Kay, they're over there at the house supporting each other for sure. Keep them in mind, as well as whatever else is specific in your life, your world, or your small world or your big world, whatever you want to bring in. Just bring that to mind. And yeah, so just take a minute and settle into your seat, settle into your body. And open up to sensitivity in your heart. And bring to mind the idea of health and healthiness in body, healthiness in heart and mind, what that looks like, what it feels like, appreciation for that. So may health in body, heart, and mind, may it show up here and everywhere, radiating out. May everyone experience that. And the idea of happiness, what a happy body feels like, happy heart and mind. May I enjoy happiness. May everyone here attending today enjoy happiness. Everyone out there, everywhere, may they be touched by happiness in their bodies, hearts, and minds. The idea of peace, recalling any peaceful time, peaceful state you've ever had, enjoying whatever peace you have right now. May peace be present in my body, heart, and mind. Likewise for everyone else out there that needs it, radiating the idea of peace. May I be free from suffering regarding my body. May I be free of suffering regarding my heart and mind. Wishing the same for everyone out there. Everyone has sufferings regarding their bodies, regarding their hearts and minds. May we all be freed from them. May our good purposes all be fulfilled. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.